Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1 million by 1 million strategy roundtable for entrepreneurs. 1M by 1M, as you know, is the first global virtual accelerator in the world for technology startups. I personally run it from Silicon Valley, but my team is global and our entrepreneurship base is also global. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. And you know what is amazing about all this is we started this experiment of online mentoring and virtual acceleration back in 2010. The experiments with online mentoring started even before in 2008. And the world was very different at the time. Virtual was not part of the norm. And then COVID turned virtual into the norm. So for us, COVID was no different from our everyday life in terms of how we worked. And so all through COVID, we worked exactly the same way that we worked when we started. This is the 647th free mentoring roundtable. And of course, in the premium program, we have tons of roundtables as well. So this roundtable format has been a very big cornerstone element of how we work. Today, we have the pleasure of Rajeev Madhavan's company here, founder and general partner at Clear Ventures. Rajeev has a long and successful career as an entrepreneur before that. So he's a very hands-on guy that I've known for a very long time. I actually did a lot of work in the electronic design automation world, which was Rajeev's old world. Rajeev founded a company called Magma Design Automation, which was a very courageous thing to do at the time because there were EDA at the time was an oligopoly of Cadence and Synopsys, with Mentor being the third player, and Magma came in as a fourth player. So anyway, Rajeev has deep experience, and I invited him back to the program here to brainstorm about today's contemporary cutting edge topic, which is artificial intelligence. As you heard, for those of you who were here last week, there's a lot of confusion in the market, including among the VCs. So, so this is why we started this new discussion series to get a little bit of clarity on what exactly is happening in terms of AI investments, and how do we parse the trends, how our investors think about things, and how should entrepreneurs think about things. Rajeev, welcome to the show. It's great to have you back.
Thank you for having me here, Srimala.
So Rajeev, what is your investment thesis in the age of AI? How are you looking at the world, and how are you thinking about investments in this world?
So I'm going to kind of divide it into broadly 2 or 3 categories. But before I do that, I just wanted to kind of give a line of what Clear Ventures is, because it's how much money we have will determine what we invest in, right? We can only put things in what we can afford. You can't just act like a $10 billion venture fund when you're a 330 million venture fund, right? So we basically are a 330 million venture fund here in Silicon Valley. We look at seed and Series A. The very early stage, we don't need the first customers. We most likely would have funded a company where there's no PowerPoint even of what they're going to be doing. It's like sitting down with them. There's a rough idea of what it is, and that's where we invested. Obviously, AI investment started a lot earlier, before this generative AI boom, where everybody can become an AI expert. And suddenly that's what's happened in the market. But the AI boom we divided into simply 3 things, right? One is the high cost chips and semiconductors that are designed using AI. Designed using AI for AI in many cases, sometimes just for AI. You mentioned my background as being in semiconductors. We met with every one of them because 99% of them were my customers, right? They were my customers' friends from my past life. I chose not to invest in that because my biggest customer was NVIDIA, and I don't think taking on NVIDIA on inferencing now, which is what the latest trend is from chip design, it's that easy given the software framework that needs to happen. But the amount of money that's happening, that's going into that space because of all the semiconductor restrictions to China, to Middle East, etc. There's lots of money pouring in from Middle East funds. Chinese funds are trying to get in. So it's a large set of investment swath of money that is going into that area. I tend to believe that in 2026 that there'll be maybe one or two which gets aggregated into one of the cloud suppliers, but it's not going to be the best of exits in that space, given the large number of players that have come in and the large amount of money that's gone into that space. The second layer on top of that is what I call the application builder layer, right? Which is the basic core AI ops, ML ops, it goes by various names by various VCs. This is the layers where you have, including the players like OpenAI providing generic large models. You have Hugging Face, a place to repository of models. You have various companies in that space. Again, very costly space because you're ending up paying the fees to NVIDIA in that space. If you're a company in that space, you end up spending a ton of money on training, on model building, on making sure that everything is correct. And that means, you're taking hundreds, if not billions of dollars and giving hundreds, if not billions of dollars to the NVIDIAs of the world. So that's the second space. We have kind of some amount of exposure in that, but not a lot, because we tend to think that this will get centralized in the top cloud providers, database providers, etc. So everybody in that space who are existing cloud and database providers will end up providing their own large model facilities and models and things of that nature. However, there will be one or two large companies that will succeed in that space, and I'm pretty confident of that. But it's a very costly endeavor. The third space is what I call vertical application, which is one layer on top of that, vertical application building. And here we have a lot of companies, a significant amount of companies that we have picked and invested in. So the idea there is, if you have expertise in one particular area, so for example, we have a company called, evidently I'm just picking on one of them, I can pick on many of the companies in our list. This is in healthcare, a company where essentially, if you're a physician today, let's hope none of us have to go into an emergency room, hospital in Stanford, etc. But if you're going in, a physician there has to make a decision on you on a couple of symptoms and about 5 minutes to read your entire database of Epic or Cerner or whatever databases the hospital is using. That inherently leads to physicians having a trouble to actually diagnose what it is, right? So we provide a tool. This was formed by somebody who's the architect of Siri, and we can provide a tool that helps physicians. But so it's both from an expertise, and there's an MD in that group. It's who was an emergency room physician. So there's a lot of experience within that team to do how to make sure that hospitals and physicians are well taken care of. But we quickly realized that the money in the hospitals, while every hospital will say physician burnout is an issue and we should take care of it, when it comes down to it, they won't pay for anything except making more money via insurance, making their operations better, etc. So we actually think of a physician being able to write those documents. So we expanded the tool to be able to do those services. And it's now deployed in a number of hospitals. Just in the first week, it saves $160K of cost for a particular hospital. So it's a university hospital that just deployed it a week ago. So we tend to think of it as, sort of an application led and developed by physicians with the expertise in the AI team sitting alongside it and building it, right? We have similar things in taxes. We have similar things in a company called Cognitos in RPA, robotic process automation. So we have about 8 companies in that light of vertical technology where there's somebody who has been in that field. So for example, in this tax company we have, it's somebody who was at Ernst & Young's VP of engineering and has served the tax business, franchise business for a long, long time. So he understands the taxes and would you change that in terms of having a vertical application that helps small, medium businesses fill their taxes. So we have about 8 to 10 companies that we have invested in that over the last 4 years. And that third layer is what we are focused on because we tend to think that there it's a question of expertise of the person that comes in and the amount of the custom data that you can put and on top of it, generate models or a combination of generic models with private LLMs, you can create a much richer flow. So it's a combination of, you can put together a feedback loop, a RAG loop with essentially your own knowledge basis. If you know the space and you can collect the data. So it is a space where we are very, very keen in investing in. I hope that kind of gives you our market in 3 ways the way we look at it.
Absolutely. So let me synthesize a little bit for those of you who are listening, and you've heard some of this at these conversations. We've had a few of these already. The semiconductor layer is very, very expensive to do startups in. There are quite a bit of activity going on there, but for our audience, where our philosophy is more lean startup, bootstrap first, raise later kind of activities, this is not really possible to do. That's capital intensive. We work in the capital efficient domain. Secondly, the layer above that is kind of the platform layer where it's also very expensive to build these platforms, and the thesis for most of us, we kind of agree on this thesis that it's the large cloud providers who are providing. Before they were providing platform as a service, cloud platform as a service. Now they're providing AI cloud platform as a service, and that's your Azure, and OpenAI is providing that too. Google, IBM, AWS, they're all providing cloud platform as a service, and there are some startups in that field as well. So you are seeing players like Cohere, you're seeing players like Anthropic, etc. And then comes the layer, the application layer, which is where the vertical AI activity is. And this is really the richest, most highly active area of entrepreneurship today. And most of it germinates out of people's intense domain knowledge. So you do need intense domain knowledge to be able to build the value on top of the lower layers where the horizontal AI exists, and then build really contextual solutions. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, Rajeev, in this context. The companies that you're investing in, what is the distribution, or what is your analysis in generative AI companies, or where the empowering technology is generative AI versus just regular AI, machine learning, deep learning, etc.?
So most likely, Sriman, I mean, generative AI is great in things like writing reports and assessing data. But if you have very specific data, for example, this RPA company on a very specific tool, etc., you really need to build your own private LLM in conjunction with a tool. So for example, if I need to find address of somebody, if I'm an insurance company using some software like this, I can use the LLM technologies, whatever the models you're mentioning, whether it's OpenAI or whether it is Google Gemini. It really doesn't matter, but you are using those for certain functionality. But the knowledge base and the combination of that you're building, you probably will end up having to build your own custom models, right? So many companies even basically started before the generative AI trend, 2.5 years ago, to 3 years ago, when the papers first started taking hold. So at that, and many of those companies had built their own knowledge graph, but they use the LLMs for various auxiliary functionality. To think that you could entirely build your application on that, that may be possible only for things like marketplaces and open generic database, data availability solutions. If you are a founder and you're an enterprise, you're selling to an enterprise customer, which is like almost 100% of our customer base, issues like hallucinations, issues like, if the model answers a question it should not have answered, like it has, let's say, salary information for all the company, and somebody else in the organization asks, well, how much is XYZ making in terms of salary? And if the model answers, that's not allowed. So there is authenticity of data, authorization that needs to happen. There is, hallucination issues. There is, issues of what answers are given, which is correct for the corporations or the enterprises policies. So there's a lot of issues that actually has had an impact in the speed with which many of the companies can deliver their tools. So, for example, our company, this company called Cognitos, which is doing RPA, the biggest delta they can do is what they call trusted AI. So they have an AI, language-based interpreter, which is actually sitting right in the middle of the solution and allowing people to create in English, communicate in English, and exceptions in English. But it's also a filtration layer that ensures that bad things don't happen, because enterprises cannot tolerate that.
Right.
So trusted AI is needed, not just large models or the old school knowledge graph based AI models.
Well, the other side of that coin is that you don't really need the large models for a lot of the vertical AI solutions, right? What you really need is a domain-specific small model that does have the full understanding of the vocabulary of that domain and can do learning and algorithms and workflows within that domain, but doesn't necessarily need the whole world's language capability.
Yeah, this is where the open source Llama 3 kind of models will clearly make it easy to build that specialized small model for a particular company. They can use that technology to build it. But for generic things like I want to find addresses or some things in the application, or I want to generate a report out of this, I may still use some aspects of large models, very large models, because they have coverage, and that's just writing a good English report, for example, and this one is doing better than that. So you're kind of going to have to go with application based, and within the application, which area is what model. You really don't have to spend everything into one model and build into that, because that actually is going to be a tougher problem for you, because every time you update, you're updating a mother of all models, whereas you really want a lot more smaller models that you can use in efficiently developing your platform.
So also, Rajeev, there's another factor to consider. This company that went public a few months ago, just literally a month ago, I think, or I can't remember the date, Tempus. I don't know if you're tracking them. Tempus is an AI company. It is Tempus.ai, but it focuses on the pharmaceutical industry. It has all kinds of pharmaceutical use cases and healthcare use cases. And it doesn't look like a language model based solution. It's an older company, obviously. It's already, in many, many $100 million in revenue. And so not all use cases are language LLM based use cases. There's also machine learning applied to big data and
no. Everything, including, for example, this RPA company I mentioned. I mean, they obviously use in their models. So you have integrations to, in models of Salesforce interactions SAP, et cetera, very complex tools, very complex solutions being integrated into, very complex flows being integrated into. Having said that, that integration is your models, your purview, and you have to have the expertise to do that. But when you want to then summarize everything and generate some things, you could use some of these open source or some of these OpenAI kind of tools where it's not open source, but you're paying for it. But the payment terms have been coming down and so radically that I don't think that is the issue as much as you have to have a corpus of data and corpus of models that are custom to you and differentiate you against the nearest other company that's come behind you. If it's just using open source data and it's the flow, there will be 10 people who will understand your tool in 6 months after you launch and will be chasing you.
What is the state of the union on the enterprise buyer side that you're encountering in your portfolio?
So I think, it was very interesting. The fourth quarter of last year and the first quarter, and because we have all these AI applications, I could see enterprises getting a little skirmish about buying all the large model-driven solutions because of fear that either hallucinate all of the things that I discussed about coming into play. I think that has shifted by the second quarter because all of the companies in the Fortune 500 have made a decision that we must. It's like the companies which claim they are now. Everybody's an AI company now, right? Just like you said about Tempest, they were 5 years ago. They were a pharmaceutical software company. Yes, they have incorporated AI into it. EDA companies are claiming that. Everybody's claiming that. So every Fortune 500 has decided to open up the purse and spend some money in this space. It's money specifically allocated for projects that use AI now. That's clearly, if you are a chief, a CTO, CIO of all these companies, if you can't talk the lingo and you can't actually start taking the money and making some contributions into your products with it, you're seen as too old school. So most of them are making that transition. So money has opened up. It hasn't opened up into a flood, but I suspect that'll happen towards the fourth quarter of this year and beyond, because everybody wants to be the cool. I'm using LLMs to do X, Y, Z. You're going to hear every old school company now having an AI element of a component into its product, basically.
And is what's happening right now where the money is opening up, is it more going into the services companies that are implementing certain AI workflows, or they're actually buying AI products from the startups?
So service companies are working with a lot of startups much earlier because they will be the first one to get impacted, frankly speaking. If you are a service company which has been providing services in, say, using automation anywhere or using SAP, et cetera, 80% of your flows are going to get automated via what is incoming in tools. So gone are the days where you could start a service company, have 50,000 people in India, and you're charging by the number of hours, right? Because customers are going to see efficiency coming together. And that will radically alter the service industry. Service industry is going to get a lot more automated. And the top service companies have all realized this, have all started spending faster, and is working with pretty much every application company that I have. Either they're trying to invest, they're trying to work with them. And it's great to see that, because they know that they need to make that automation layer be part of their story, be part of their culture. Some of them will take time to pivot, because going away from an hourly inefficient flow was an hourly efficient solution-based pricing model is a cultural shift that needs to happen in the service industry, and it will happen. But having said that, it's also happening in places like healthcare, like this hospital company, etc., where grudgingly, hospitals, etc., are realizing the changes that it can bring about to their operating procedures. It's grudgingly because they typically, are taught to treat data so, as a bias, as a religious thing that you just can't go around, that they get those restrictions have to be part of the tools that is provided by everybody, every good company providing to the healthcare, but they need to check it, and that will be like, who will be the first one to buy these tools is an important question for many hospitals. I don't want to be the first one. I want somebody else to be the first one. So you're going to take a lot longer in some of those industries where caution will reign rampant.
Mhm. Now, are you seeing the startups, the AI startups, also starting to do services work? I have seen several instances where
Yeah,
they have AI capability, but they're actually going to market with large projects where they provide product and also do the services. They
well,
kind of go as a solution.
it is a good way to enter the market because you end up, going in and so, for example, the tax company that I mentioned, they have actually got a lot of people who are providing services for the entire small, medium businesses to do taxes. It's not necessarily the long-term plan, but it gave us the ability to go. We actually acquired a couple of companies that brought in the technology, that brought in the relationship with the customers and added to it our technology to improve the margins and productivity. Now we can go and sell to service providers and to everybody and show what it means to use our tool. But it's better than waiting for service providers and others to actually help you. By the way, this is nothing new also. When I did Magma, as you mentioned, in 2001 or 2000, I think we had a service arm which went and did 2, 3 very large chips of that time. Because if I have to wait for somebody else to get going, I am just going to sit there. So I can't do that. I just had to get a bunch of services and get going. But creating the tool in that context to understand that that may not be my long-term plan. I'm doing it as a means to get my tool out of the market and to create my tools and get the flow all captured.
Well, and the analogy that you just gave of chip design, the expertise is finite, right? It's not like, ever in the world have there been, millions of chip designers, high-end chip designers who could do whatever on the fly. And right now, AI is in that state, like high-end AI expertise is not as ubiquitous. And inside Fortune 500 companies, this expertise is not randomly available. So as that expertise develops and expands, there will be more possibilities. But also in the meantime, the startups are getting to learn by actually doing solving the problems. They're also learning about, what other functionality you need to bring into the product. So it's a win-win across the board.
It's basically, what does it take to get your great idea into market, right? I mean, at all costs, get in and get the features done. Just make sure that when you do that, that it's the tool that you're selling and not the expertise as a carved service. Remember, I mean, 10 years from now or 15 years, I don't know what the amount of time that it's going to take. We're going to have AI as knowledge for most people. All these models getting served, etc., improves, and at the English level we can operate. It's to me, the change of what is going to happen is the computer science, which was a kind of okay, a few people in the world. I don't know how many numbers are there, are the experts. It kind of will move from that to everybody being able to contribute to a certain degree. And that's a very good thing to happen, but it will take 10, 15 years. And you as a startup don't have that 10, 15 years to get the ball moving. You got 1 year, 2 years, and you got to be in the leader, establishing your footprint by the time the entire market community is behind this new transition?
Well, we are in a very fast-paced innovation cycle mode right now. In the next, in the rest of this decade and the next decade, things are going to move really fast. So I'll actually end this segment with my last question is how are you viewing the evolution of general AI and super intelligence and all that, and how does that inform your investment thesis in vertical AI? And is super intelligence going to make vertical AI unnecessary? How do you parse this question?
Yeah, so I think things like AGI, super intelligence, words like that are dreams of the AI community, and it's things that will work. I don't think we are anywhere near that. At the end of um, the system, people have to just look at it and say, hey, if the patterns of things have been seen before, yep, we are going to reach a point where the system can do a rinse and repeat of that. But having to say an AGI of the model and kind of making intelligent decisions and cognitive decisions beyond what is today obvious in the data and obvious in the model itself, is going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of, if the transition to the current state is going to take 10 years, 15 years, an AGI, and there could be an AGI in some specific localized area where every aspect of it can be trained. And so much money has gone into the training to do that, and so much of the systems can be engineered such that the inference of the data needed to make adjustments can be done. But I don't think everything in life is that easy to be done. So that's, in my view, for the next generation. I don't think I'm going to be around the 25, 30-year mark more. So either that is for the next generation to carry on and do the work. I think it's great, and it's a great pioneering work that needs to be done. But this is one step where we if carried through well by startups, they could end up in great positions over the next few years.
My take on general AI is that it doesn't really matter, because there's at the moment the opportunity in front of us in vertical AI and vertical general AI, let's say, the workflows, the APIs, all the integration and kind of real automation in the context of a particular problem domain is so big, and so the productivity that it can achieve is so huge that at the moment, at least, that is really the opportunity.
Yeah, so making every human a superhuman. Right? I mean, and in that specific domain or whatever it is. And that is bound to happen. We are all going to become able to get summarized knowledge of what happens. Like this podcast, somebody could generate a 3-line summary out of the system. That's great. I mean, I don't know what it'll look like, but it certainly is great that it's going to get down to that level. And as you know, over the period of this transformation to cell phones, humanity has lost the ability to read long things. Right? They need it in snippets that are shorter and shorter, and all this summarization at a higher level and summarization of the core content, etc., is going to make us all. I'm not so sure about our social relationships that end up from all of these things, but clearly it's going to change the way we have been operating to be very quick and get to the data and make the solutions very, very quickly, basically.
Well, this is not necessarily a good thing. That's the fact that we cannot do difficult things. We are in evolution. We're losing capacity for rigor. This is not a good thing.
No, I agree with you completely on that, right? I mean, it's the same things that has happened in cell phone, right? When 2000, early 2000s, when cell phone came in, people did not, when I'm not cell phone, but the smartphones came in, we didn't anticipate the impact. Now there's a lot more impact in universities, etc., where people are not mingling as much with each other. The suicide rates are higher.
Social skills have gone down the drain. That's a very bad thing.
And we're going to have similar impact here because our ability to go down and learn is going to get reduced further and further in this business.
Well, yes, this is a longer conversation. I'm not going to go there at the moment.
Yes.
Because we have to work with entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
But fascinating conversation, very topical, and we will continue the conversation in a few months.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you for coming, Rajeev. Are you staying for the pitches?
No, I have another one in about another call in about
Okay.
15 minutes, so I'm just
No
going to wrap.
problem. No problem. Thank you for coming and sharing your perspective.
Thank you.
Folks, we are going to switch now to the entrepreneur pitch session. This is a safe working session. I am on your side. My only job is to help you move forward and figure out a path forward, all the roadblocks that you're facing notwithstanding. So welcome, feel safe, feel comfortable. Let's work together to figure out what is it that you need to do to remove your roadblocks. You can disagree with my feedback, it's your venture. So you can do whatever you want. I will try to give you feedback. What you do with that is up to you, really. So we're going to start with Elizabeth in New York, in Brooklyn. Elizabeth, please unmute your line and let's get started.
Thank you. This is Lavva. We are a living cultured superfood. And I think that our time has come. So we live in the fresh yogurt case, and we are delivering these live therapeutics in every creamy mouthful. So if you would like to move to the next, that is me. I am Liz Fisher. I'm the founder and CEO of Lavva. And I've been in the food industry my whole career in the US. But Lavva was created out of my own lifestyle, my own health journey. And I was diagnosed with cancer, advanced stage, and I began looking at it as a metabolic condition and not a genetic one. So this is just a recent review of the product by Industry Insider. So we can go to the next slide. This really is the core mission. The disappearance of these living microbes called probiotics from our soils and our bodies have had startling negative consequences, but we can put them back. The gut microbiome is really the blueprint of the human immune system. And I believe that the market is ready now. We knew there was something naturally occurring when we formulated the product, but we didn't know how to discuss it. But the past few years, the consumer is very ready, and gut health, in particular, the GLP-1 and sustainable food supply is extremely relevant. This is some data from alt dairy, old school alt dairy, which is plant-based, is in rapid free fall decline. It is this next generation of clean label, functional, unsweetened, whole food probiotics that are taking off. And just the size of the market, it's a $14 billion US category, and all of the growth is coming from these drivers around improved digestion and immune health. So this is okay, well, we're going right to the soil. This is regenerative agriculture and why these living cultures or probiotics are missing from our food.
So
Our business model.
the reason I'm flipping through these slides is that one thing you should always know is that putting so much text on slides makes the slides useless. You know, because nobody can read that much text, right? In a presentation, you should have 3 bullet points and a small amount of text, and that's it. So whatever points you want to make has to be done in 3 bullet points and maybe a few images, whatever. But this rambling amount of text doesn't serve any purpose. The slides are being rendered useless. So my question is this product out in the market already?
We launched in 2018 and sold about 13 million units through the register, and we were disrupted by distribution and logistics, supply chain, and also capital. We lost investor confidence during COVID.
So right now you don't have products in the market anymore?
No, we do. We do. We've held national distribution and are gearing up. Lots of new business opportunities.
So what channels do you sell through?
Sell strictly brick and mortar grocery, U.S. grocery stores.
Which ones?
Well, our biggest customer and the one we are in front of now is Whole Foods.
Okay. So Whole Foods is the bulk of your distribution?
I'm sorry, what?
Whole Foods is the bulk of your distribution?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, the business has lost a great deal of distribution in the past 2 years.
Got it. I understood that. Now, within the probiotic market, you're positioning yourselves as a probiotic, right?
Well, yes. I mean, any cultured food is a probiotic.
So I guess my question is, how do you position inside of that, let's say, glass case where probiotics are featured at Amazon, I'm sorry, at the Whole Foods? What, if I walk up to that glass case, why would I choose your product versus another? Do you have a sense of why people are buying your product versus another?
Well, the main reason is a level of understanding. People know when they don't feel well, and most probiotics in a supplement don't function. They are dead. So our position is that we are authenticated to be living, and they do not work unless they are matched with their food, called a prebiotic. So this is trending very much in the CPG. So that is, if we can go to the next slide, I think the positioning is around this GLP-1, which is nature's Ozempic. We all make this hormone, and people who are concerned about the price tag of the pharma approach, as well as the fact that it doesn't work the minute you stop taking it, and there are significant side effects. So there is a real hunger for a similar benefits through food. And
Is that education happening? Because I don't have any of this knowledge. where, what is your assumption? Thank you. What is your assumption about how the consumer is getting educated enough to make these decisions that you expect us to make?
Well, I do have a slide about our marketing strategy with the next one, which is going to lifestyle medicine physicians, health coaches, nutrition, the registered dietitians, anyone who is a practitioner wanting to have the wellness model. Food as medicine is really the subcategory. So getting away from processed foods. Can you move to the next slide, the marketing slide? Thanks. That is a very busy slide. I appreciate that comment. But these are acting as our social media brand ambassadors, thought leaders. They can even be bodybuilders, anybody who is looking at food as nourishment to avoid disease. So that really, there's a shift coming where it's a very trillion-dollar industry filled with ultra processed shelf-stable SKUs, and there's tremendous curiosity.
I think that is part of the problem, is that the differentiation of, I don't know, has anybody in the audience today who's listening encountered this product? Whole Foods, we all know Whole Foods. Many of us know Whole Foods.
Yeah, I've not seen it. I don't shop at Whole Foods all that often, but I am a very health conscious person. I will say that the logo is pretty awesome. But when you were talking about your last, the previous slide with some of the different, marketing things, I was wondering when you're going to get around to, because it seems very much like a story that you want to tell, and getting influencers who are health conscious or moms or whatever. That's what my wife does. This is right up her alley of something that, she could reach with her 250,000 followers versus, and sorry, I'm going to stop and let you keep going. I just want to get my thoughts.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. That's kind of where you need to figure out is, how do you get the education about this product out? I think you need to really focus on the specifics of your product, because if you go in the broad preaching of don't eat processed food, eat natural food, that's too broad, right? That's base level. You need to go to influencers who already have a base of people who are interested in eating natural foods and have some level of understanding of the benefits of natural foods. And then you have to position yourself in as a category and as a product. So there's a category differentiation, there's a product differentiation, and you have to get that education out there to markets that are receptive to what you're doing. So I think I kind of agree with you with what you just said, Justin, that influencers who have specific following in the natural foods market may be your best go-to-market strategy to get that education out there. And then that has to kind of align with the Whole Foods audience. Whole Foods does have, I think some of those people, at least a good percentage of those people, shop at Whole Foods. So I think that, that is a problem that you're going to have to crack, because, I don't know why I should buy your product. And we eat very healthy. Maureen is saying in the public chat that she is, do you know this product, Maureen? Have you used this product? Anyway, so that's my response to.
Well, obviously, taste is critical, and because it is perishable, you know, it requires sampling. So we had to and oh wow, very interesting
Yeah.
comment
She would-
there. And she's not alone. I mean, there is so much, and it's very clinical and personal. And I do have a nutrition educator, communications heavy hitter that will be able to condense this uh, into practical, everyday, simple consumption. But
So here's
um,
another advice that I have for you is if there are specific use cases like what Maureen is pointing out, she has a specific condition and your product may be a very good solution for that condition, then you should create content on your website that search engines pick up. People who have conditions search for solutions to those conditions, and you should be able to harness that traffic and really go after that audience. And you know, the more precise, the easier it is to pick up that search engine audience and educate people through that search engine audience. And it sounds like you have very precise use cases. Maureen has very, very precise use cases that she's providing you here, which means that you can create very precise content and
but
content.
we don't want to be a medical food. We are looking at an obesity crisis. And so I initially was pursuing this interest in the gut microbiome, and in particular, the living bacteria, because of my personal journey, only to talk to the top biochemists, researchers, university researchers who have been studying this particular microbe that is missing. We are all born with them, and it's just a thrilling story of human health and ancestral wisdom that is missing from our urban lifestyle, but it can be consumed. And lava in particular is made with fermentable fiber. So that's the missing piece. I stumbled across it. It wasn't by design, but that's why the living microbes deliver to where they need to go. And it's, people eat yogurt frequently. It's almost like a daily ritual. So, you know, part of our biggest problem has been capital. So, you know, we lost investor confidence.
So Elizabeth,
Okay.
I would be happy to look at your financing strategy and guide you on that. This is not a financing pitch. You have to, if you're looking for financing, you have to create a financing pitch. This is not a financing pitch. I don't have any of the information an investor would need to even comment on your financing, financeability, fundability. So, and then if I don't have what I need to even assess or diagnose, I can't give you advice on what is the right financing strategy for you. So, I will explain how to use 1 million by 1 million after I finish working with the next presenter. And then you can ask me more questions based on that, okay?
Okay.
But I'm glad you're selling, which is the most important thing. All right, so we are going to go to, is that the pitch?
Yeah, we can go back to the first page there.
This is it.
No, the title page. I kind of had a whole thing set up. Yeah, I wasn't sure how many people were going to be, you know, on the call or whatever, but you know, so my company, first off, I'm Justin Leffew. My company is Foundation Labs, and we have created the application called Foundation. We are empowering data creators. I was kind of going to do like a Q&A, sort of like when you hear the term creator, and anybody can jump in here. What do you think of when you hear the term creator?
Somebody who develops something from nothing.
Yeah, and more just so in terms of, our world today, typically when I ask that question, like, oh, people that make YouTube videos, or, people that dance on TikTok or whatever. And like, sure.
You're thinking about digital creators.
Sure. Yeah. Digital creators. Right. And so you can go to the next page. And so everybody is actually a creator, because every day we create data. We create, mountains and mountains of data every single day. Most of it is not actually owned by us, the people that create the data, even though it probably should be. So what we end up with is we get our data passed back and forth from corporation to corporation online, and we get none of the gain from that. Everybody's making money except for us, the people that created the data. On top of that, we're being manipulated by those who control the flow of that data. Now, yes, regardless of your political views, I think everybody can agree that we are being manipulated with yes, the data. And so yes, Foundation is a way that we are turning your personal data into private property that you can monetize on our marketplace. Okay, so that's like a pretty crazy idea, right? How does that, actually work in theory? So we can go to the next page. So we have a private beta that we just launched. We just launched a week ago. We're getting our first 100 users. We're figuring out what people like, what people don't like, what they're using, and we're going to iterate from there. But essentially, what we have is a data portfolio. So you sign up for an account, and you just start going through and answering questions. All of these questions that you answer, it's public data, but nobody can tie it back to your identity, right? So what we end up with, when we get enough people answering questions, is this giant, polling system, right? That advertisers, businesses can now get in there and say, hey, I want to speak with people who like dogs more than cats, and their favorite color is red, and they have a 720 credit score, and they live in this area, and they don't have kids, and they like rock, whatever. There's literally hundreds of variables that businesses can filter by. And so building your data portfolio involves answering questions, sure, but also adding badges. And so what those badges are, first name, last name, hook up your social media accounts. We have lots of cool stuff, coming down the pipeline, like proof of credit score. We're going to have all these different credit score buckets so that, again, if I'm advertising, I only want to advertise to people with a 680 plus credit score. So I'm going to take everybody else out, and that's going to be one of my variables. In the same token, you, as somebody just using the network, right, you could say in the future, I wonder what doctors, verified doctors with over 10 years of experience who also have children, what do they think about masking toddlers in schools? And you'll be able to find that information out for free. Again, everything's anonymous, so you won't be able to tie it back to the individual doctors. I feel like, what we had with COVID is a lot of people were just scared to talk. People were getting silenced. So this is a way for everybody to be honest in public without having that come back on them. And so that brings us to the explore unique insights with advanced filtering. That is, I only want to see answers from people who have a verification score over 5, or I only want to see people who have a Facebook account, or so on and so forth. And then what we're working up to, as soon as there's enough data in the system, that's when businesses will be able to actually directly advertise. And so what will happen, let's just say, for example, I own a car dealership. And for whatever reason, my GM ordered 50 extra red cars. I got 50 extra red cars sitting in the lot. Well, I'm going to run a search on Foundation. I'm going to say, hey, I want people that live within a 50-mile radius who have said in the last week that they're interested in purchasing a vehicle, who have a certain credit score, oh, and their favorite color is red. And I'm going to run that search. Maybe I see 10 people. I'm going to offer them tokens.
Justin, I think I need to stop you.
Okay.
So, how long have you talked in this session so far? But 4 or 5 minutes already?
Yeah, this is the most complicated section for sure.
I don't understand what you're doing, and that's really dangerous for you because I'm considered a pretty savvy person, and
Sure.
if you talk to me for 5 minutes and I don't understand what the hell you're doing, that's not good.
Okay.
News. So let's try to
yeah.
figure out what this is.
Let me try to break it down as simple as possible. On foundation, right, you can filter answers to questions.
Hang on 1 second.
Yeah.
What is foundation? Is foundation a social network? Is foundation, what is foundation?
Foundation is an application that allows you to transform your personal data into something you can make money from.
How would I do that? Like what my personal data sits at various places. My personal data sits on LinkedIn, it sits on Facebook, it sits on my phone. Where does foundation take charge of my data? How is that even possible?
We don't take charge of your data, you do. So you're creating data on foundation that only you have access to.
How am I creating data on foundation? I don't create data on random places. I create data in context.
Sure, because you're not paid for it anywhere else.
So what is foundation? You have to find
Imagine, okay, yeah.
You have to find the words to explain what is foundation. None of us understand what is foundation right now.
Okay. Imagine Google and Facebook paid you 96% of the money that they made selling your data. That's what foundation is.
Foundation is going to be a creator platform, and you want creators to come and create content there, and you are going to give the creators ownership of their data and then pay them to sell that data to advertisers. That's what you're saying you want to do.
Roughly speaking, yes.
So that means you are proposing to build a new social network.
Yes, sort of. Again, it's not social because everything is anonymous. You can definitely see what people are doing, socially, but there's no followers, there's no likes, there's no comments. We're trying to change the incentive structures of society from attention to honesty. And so by doing that, by allowing people to simply answer questions and hook up different other platforms into a location they control, they can then monetize it.
So why would I come to foundation and start creating data? What kind of data? What are we talking about? What is the what is my hook to come to foundation? You're telling me that I'm going to monetize my data, but what data am I going to create? Am I going to create business related content? Am I going to create social content? Am I going to create music? Am I going to create art? Why am I coming to foundation? To do what?
So this, I'm trying to not make it more complicated.
But this, note, Justin, this is your primary challenge. That you are not able to explain what you're doing. And this is a very common problem. You come up with something, and if you can't explain what you're doing, it's going to be impossible to build a business around it.
Okay, so let me backtrack and see if I can do this in a slightly better way. So you go to foundation, right? Because one of two reasons. Either you are very dissuaded and not happy with the current state of information online, and the fact that on social media networks, you are giving every single person on that network right access to your brain.
That's not why we go to social media. We go to social media because there is a social structure to, whether it's Facebook with a social structure, a social network that we interact with and we do stuff with, or it's LinkedIn where there is a business network that we like to interact with. That's why we go to those places. We don't go to those places thinking that we are giving our data and the data, that's not why we go. That's not what's happening psychologically in the head of somebody who's going to use a social network. So the counterpoint is the question that I'm asking you. Why would we come to Foundation? What is the incentive? What am I going to Foundation to do?
Sure. So I was trying to get away from this. This is my old pitch, but again, this is why Foundation is not really a social network. Foundation is more the Airbnb for your data, right? When I go and purchase a home.
That is a positioning that does not work, Justin. Airbnb for your data. Nobody looks for Airbnb for your data. That is not a positioning that works. It makes no sense. If you use it.
Oh, I'm sorry. You kind of cut out for a second. It's frozen. Hello?
Hi, Justin. It looks like her internet might have cut out for a minute. So let's give her a second and come back.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Maureen, can you hear me? No?
Yes, we hear you. Yes.
Yeah. You hear me? Okay, good. All right. So what I'm saying, Justin, is that when you use a comparable like, Airbnb of data, it has to make sense. It doesn't make any sense. Like an Uber of making laundry, that makes sense, right? I want somebody to go do my laundry. Some people want to do laundry. Okay, you make that pairing. It's a two-sided marketplace that works. But Airbnb for data, what it sounds to me like is that you're a storage service.
No. Again, okay. So you're right. This needs some work. We are a marketplace. So there's a reason that Google is a $2 trillion company. They sell your data. We believe if you join Foundation that you can compile more data in a more effective way than Google or Facebook or any of these other data brokers that are taking advantage of the data that we create. On Foundation, you can create thousands, tens of thousands of data points that will enable you to monetize that and get deals from companies and get paid to watch advertisements. Everybody in the world can be a micro influencer if they own and control the data instead of allowing these big corporations to.
No,
so you would come.
That pitch does not work because there is no community on Foundation, and building that community on Foundation needs to first answer the key question is that why should people come to Foundation to begin with? Why did people come to Facebook? People came to Facebook because Facebook was creating a space for people to socialize online. Why did people come to LinkedIn? Because it's a professional networking place where people were coming to network.
And then creating a place where you can compile and sell your data. Like that's as simple as it can get.
No, it's not. It's not. There is no value to compile and sell your data. It's
$1 trillion a year market.
No, it's not. You have not defined the market. You have not talked about a pricing model, business model, a pricing model. Nothing. None of those.
It's all in the presentation.
Sorry, Justin, this pitch doesn't work. You may not like what I'm telling you. This pitch doesn't work at all. You can say I'm going to charge $50 a month. Nobody's going to pay $50 a month because there's no value proposition here.
For who, the business or the user?
Either.
Okay, if I'm a business and this is what I'm going to do when we hit 1,000 users, I'm going to go find the perfect leads for businesses and go sell them to businesses. So the value proposition for businesses, I gave you an example of the car dealer. I can give you an example of real estate. I can give you an example of roofing, financial planning.
Okay,
grocery
go ahead and
every
give me
single
example.
business
Use
that I've,
cases. Give
yeah,
give
I
me
mean,
use
I
cases.
have millions of dollars per year in LOIs from businesses. That's not the problem. That has a very clear use case. We're able to get you way better leads, the Glengarry leads, better than anything that you've ever seen before. And the money that you pay for those leads goes directly to the person instead of Google or Zillow or Facebook or whatever. That business proposition, that is good, that is set. I agree with you 100% with trying to understand why, as a user, I'm going to come here. And our initial thesis was, hey, you can make money from your data instead of giving it away. And that was our
That's
push.
not a compelling thesis. So I agree with you. For the businesses, if you can, like, Facebook has done, right? Facebook has created one of the most successful small business advertising platforms or business advertising platforms because they have the consumers who can be reached. And the same thing with LinkedIn. Today, LinkedIn has a big advertising business because the traffic is there, the people are there who are doing stuff on LinkedIn. So you have to get the traffic there, the consumers there to do something. And they're not going to come just because you're saying we can monetize your data. What are they coming for? What is it that they're going to do there? What is the value proposition? That's completely missing. So think about it. And if you can come up with a compelling solution of what is it that might bring people to your website, then I can help you structure this presentation in a way that is going to be more compelling. But the basic value proposition of what brings consumers onto your website is missing right now. So nothing else can be created until that is put in place.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's your homework from this discussion is how do you attract people to come and do something on your website that will give them reason to come and engage.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So folks, I don't think Raghav is here. We're going to skip through and I will explain to you how to use 1 million by 1 million. You can ask me more questions. Emma2, I can see you have a hand up. We'll get to Q&A in just a moment. Okay. Goodness, that's a lot of slides for somebody who doesn't show up. So everything resource-wise on 1M is at 1M1M.com. You will find all our resources on the website. It is a completely virtual program. Our premium program is the full acceleration program. And that's a $1,000 one-year membership fee program through which you can have access to this kind of mentoring sessions, whatever you call it, mentoring, coaching, consulting, whatever you call it, you can come and talk to me and brainstorm with me every week. And Justin, you're going to need a lot of brainstorming to come up with something that works. So you may want to consider joining the premium program so that we can iterate and get to something that works. But in general, all the interactive project-based consulting, mentoring, coaching, whatever you call it, is part of the premium program. Also, investment. We have a network of investors that we work with, a very large network of investors. You're meeting some of them at these sessions on an ongoing basis. This getting introduced to that network of investors also is part of the premium program. We also have huge ability to get the word out about what you're doing because I am a top influencer on LinkedIn. So influencer marketing is part of the premium program. So if you're looking to use influencer marketing as part of your go-to-market strategy, this is something that, at least on LinkedIn, I have a lot of sway. And we have a terrific curriculum from which you can learn and fill your knowledge gaps, which you will need to do. A first-time entrepreneur's journey is very, very steep. So go to the website, look at the premium program, what to expect from the premium program, and if you decide to join, join. Some of you have come to us over the years. This has been going on since the last 15 years. So we've got lots of requests for one-on-one consulting. Yes, we offer one-on-one consulting. It's a lot more expensive. Instead of $1,000 a year, it's $1,000 an hour. So you're very welcome to come and talk to me in private if that's what you want, but that is, you have to go to the one-on-one consulting page and read the nuances of that, and you're very welcome, and we will provide you with one-on-one consulting as well. These free roundtables happen every week, so come as much as you want to. You can pitch only once for free, but you can come and ask questions, listen as much as you want. All through August, we are here. If you have questions about the 1M1M program, go to Irina Patterson. She's going to answer questions. We can take questions now from any of you in the audience, on the panel, where MO2, you've had your hands up for a while. So MO2, please go ahead and unmute your line. Maureen, could you please put MO2 on the panel? MO2, go ahead and ask your question. You need to unmute your line. Your line is muted at the moment. Go ahead. MO2? Well, anybody else who has questions, now is a good time to ask those questions, including people who have already spoken on the panel. Justin, Elizabeth, please ask questions if you have any. So one of the things that you will see, and Elizabeth, this is important for you, is what you are trying to seek funding on is not an investor pitch. An investor pitch has specific requirements. And as part of the premium program, we will help you develop such a pitch such that you can get some traction with investors. And then there is also fundability diagnostics that you have to go through. And all of these things are learning items that you need to figure out a way to learn from. Anybody else? Question? Justin, do you have any other questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Elizabeth, do you have any other questions? Emeka has questions. Maureen, could you please put Emeka on the panel as well?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I do have a question. I mean, it's brand.
You're cutting away, and your voice is going silent from time to time. So could you try again?
Now?
Yeah.
Okay. So we raised, we went through a Series A, B, and a down round for a Series C. Mm-hmm. And part of, we are pretending, not pretending, but we're like presenting to new investors like we were, like nothing happened, because there was a complicated legal corporate transaction, an asset purchase agreement. So there was considerable dilution from previous investors. And so we keep, we're kind of presenting to new investors as a startup, but there was tremendous velocity and momentum and proof of concept commercially. It just got disrupted by.
Are you raising money on the same corporate entity, or are you rebooting and starting a new?
We formed a new corporation in order to complete the to start over, basically to acquire the assets of the previous entity.
What about the intellectual property, all this, stuff?
That all belongs to the new company. And basically it's the brand, it's the formulas, it's that, trade dress.
That legal cleanup is already done in the corporate.
All that's been completed, 2 years completed.
It's completed. So you are raising money on a clean slate The cap table is clean. You own 100% of the equity now.
The previous investors, a number of them venture capitalists, professional investors, they still make up the new entity. They make up the major portion of the new entity. But so we're just raising a convertible note here.
It's going to be very difficult to raise money if the investors own most of the company. In a company that is starting afresh, that investors hate that kind of a situation.
Well, I believe this is actually where we need the most advice and where we've had the most difficulty is the actual corporate structure. And I don't understand it. It's just not my background. I'm a grocery salesperson,
Well, you're welcome to join the premium program, and I will advise you as best as I can on that.
Okay.
I think Emeka wants to talk next.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Emeka Probis. I just joined.
Yeah, go ahead. Please ask your question.
Okay, yeah. I don't know, but I was invited to pitch. I don't know if that's gonna happen today or maybe later. I don't know, because I was hoping that, yeah.
If you want to pitch, you should register to pitch, and Maureen can send you the instructions to pitch at the next session. Pitches, you need to send in slides and book a slot ahead of time. So if you're looking to, where are you dialing from, Emeka?
Yeah, from Nigeria.
Okay.
Lagos,
you have
Nigeria.
a business that you're working on that you want to pitch here?
Yeah, sure. I do have a business, and I registered on the website and I uploaded a PDF pitch. I think I did that yesterday. I don't know if that was late, but I did the registration prior to this time.
Maureen, what is he talking about? How does he? There is no way to upload a pitch, I don't think, in the registration, right? You have to send the slides to Maureen. If you register to pitch, then you will receive.
I sent an email. Yeah, I sent an email. I sent an email to her yesterday. Yeah.
Maureen, do you have his slides? He didn't. She did not receive them. No, she does not have your slides.
Okay. Well, I might have to send it again, but I sent it in yesterday.
Okay, so why don't you, Emeka and Maureen, sort it out after this call, and you can be scheduled to pitch at the next session, Emeka. And I look forward to working with you there.
All right, thank you very much.
So I see a question from Sid. There is no free resources. What do you think is happening right now? This is for free. People are pitching and getting advice and free mentoring. What do you think is happening here right now? What do you mean there is no free resources? This is an enormous free resource that has been going on for about 16, 17 years on a weekly basis. What do you think is happening here? As you said, join premium for advice. You just highlighted flaws. As opposed to what? What do you mean pitch deck? Sid, why don't you join the call and talk? It may be easier. It may be easier for me to answer your questions if you just kind of talk to me instead of writing these cryptic. There you go. Elizabeth Fisher is saying she found this very useful, and I think Justin is also saying the same thing. That's the advice. What is your vision of a free resource? Sid, you can unmute your line and talk. The people who pitched and dialogued with me found this session very useful. So what is it that you're trying to say? Okay, Sid is disappearing now after pointing out that I just highlighted pitch deck flaws. If need advice, need to join premium. Well, we're a business. I can't run this business by giving free advice one-on-one to everybody on a daily basis. That is not how we run a business. But I think I gave value for free to the people who came here and they found it helpful. So I'm not sure what your beef is, but maybe this program is not for you. I don't know. If you're expecting everything to be for free, that is an expectation that I'm afraid we as a business cannot meet. All right, folks, I think that is all. If anybody else has any other question, I'll be happy to answer. Before we adjourn, we have 4 more minutes if necessary. Otherwise, if there is no other question, I will adjourn.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, Elizabeth.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, Maureen.
All right.
Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. All right, Maureen, I think Emeka sent you his pitch. We can work with him next week. So this is a safe working session. As you can see, you can bring whatever problems you have. It's fine if you cannot, by the way, not being able to explain your full value proposition is a very common problem. So I'm happy to work with you and figure out how you do that. That is part of the, part of the mentoring, part of the consulting, part of the coaching that we provide. It's a very common problem. You are not the first one experiencing this problem. All right. Talk to you soon. I will see you next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.